Hello everyone, I'm Suganya, working in Hindustan Institute of Technology in the Department of Information Technology. Here I'm going to discuss the topic about essence of Indian traditional knowledge. So here the unit one is introduction to traditional knowledge. So what are all in the field of traditional knowledge? We have to know about our ancient Indian tradition here. So first one, what is traditional knowledge? Traditional knowledge refers to knowledge or practices passed down from generation to generation that form part of the traditions or heritage of indigenous communities. Knowledge or practice for which the indigenous communities act as the guarantees or custodians. The indigenous communities act as guarantees or custodians of such knowledge and practice. It is usually with respect to the natural surroundings of the community and includes agricultural knowledge such as manner of civilization, environmental knowledge, and the knowledge of natural medicines. Indigenous cultural expressions refer to ways in which indigenous communities express their traditional culture, ways that are part of their heritage or identity, ways that are passed down from generation to generation. Indigenous cultural expression might, for example, take the form of song, stories, dances, art, designs, crafts, etc. Traditional knowledge, indigenous knowledge, and local knowledge generally refer to knowledge systems embedded in the cultural traditions of regional, indigenous, or local communities. Some forms of traditional knowledge find expressions in culture, stories, legends, folklore, rituals, songs, and laws. Here are some traditional knowledge act. Dynamic and adaptable, indigenous, socio-cultural, spiritual, environmental, intergenerational, applicable, history, and place. Types of traditional knowledge, local knowledge and the indigenous knowledge. Doesn't have to any historical component, refers to any learned knowledge of a place, be it location-based knowledge or non-traditional knowledge relevant to a specific time and place. No knowledge that is culturally specific or passed on by indigenous people over generations, unique to a specific society and culture, takes into account learned behavior with respect to the environment. And the next, cultural practice to cultural belief. Weather forecasting, traditional finishing methods, traditional medicine, cultural astronomy, aquacultural, mangrove conservation, coral reefs conservation, customary law, mantra and spell, blessing ceremony, washing ceremony, multiple purposed materials. Goals of traditional knowledge, management systems, ethics and values, cosmology, cultural identity, factual observation, planning and management process. Nature. Traditional knowledge can be characterized as knowledge, which is knowledge in the sense that it originates from intellectual activity in a wide range of social, cultural, environmental, and technological contexts, and identified by the source community as being traditional knowledge. Characteristics of traditional knowledge. A general characteristics of traditional knowledge is the understanding that all parts of the environment, plant, animal, rocks, water, human beings have a life force. A report of the International Council of Science study group on science and traditional knowledge characteristics traditional knowledge as a cumulative body of knowledge know how practices and representations maintained and developed by people with extended histories of interaction with the natural environment. These sophisticated sets of understandings, interpretations, and meanings are part and parcel of a cultural complex that encompasses language, naming, and classification systems, resource use practices, ritual, spiritually, and worldview. Traditional knowledge typically distinguishes one community from another. In some communities, traditional knowledge takes on personal and spiritual meanings. Indigenous knowledge or techniques are the treasured truths of ancient wisdom and are developed through trial and error. Experiences gained over the centuries and are time tested, but generally not sustained by an specific scientific evidences. Indigenous knowledge or techniques are the treasure truths of ancient wisdom and are developed through trial and error. Experiences gained over the centuries and are time tested, but generally not sustained by an ancient evidence. Traditional knowledge regarding the environment, such as taboos, proverbs, and cosmological knowledge systems, may provide a conservation ethos for biodiversity preservation. Characteristics of traditional knowledge: collective rights on the knowledge, close association and interdependence with the local environment, mostly transferred orally from generation to generation, often governed by strict rules and regulations, sacredness and secrecy associated. Characteristics of indigenous knowledge is generated within communities, is local and cultural specific, is the basis of decision making and survival strategies, is not systematically documented, concerns critical issues of human and animal life, primary protection, human and animal life, natural resource management, is dynamic and based on innovation, adoption, and experimentation, is a oral rural in nature. Characteristics of ITK. Indian traditional knowledge is not static but dynamic. Exogenous knowledge and endogenous creativity brings change to Indian traditional knowledge. Indian traditional knowledge is initiative in its mode of thinking, and it is mainly qualitative in nature. And study needs a holistic approach. If traditional knowledge is properly tapped, can provide valuable insights into resources, processes, possibilities, and problems in a particular area. Traditional knowledge is recorded and transferred through oral tradition. A traditional knowledge is learned through observation and hands-on experience, and it forms an information base for a variety, and it reflects local tradition. Characteristics of indigenous knowledge. So basically, indigenous knowledge, the people who transmit knowledge by oral language or body language, or the transmission of scientific information released on written records and publications, and a teacher simply correlates the transmission of his knowledge orally. Traditional does not just means knowledge of the past, but rather than the method of creation of this knowledge is the traditional way, since people's interaction with the environment products. Scope of the traditional knowledge. Scope of the traditional knowledge is the awareness, experience, expertise, knowledge, and applications that are established, continued, performed, and passed on from generation to generation within a region or community, often forming a part of its cultural, social, or spiritual identity. A scope of traditional knowledge: agricultural, scientific, technic, technical, ecological, and medical knowledge, as well as biodiversity related knowledge. Sixth, scope of traditional knowledge, including the use of existing intellectual property mechanisms, it considering all the scope of traditional knowledge. Importance of traditional knowledge: influence individual and community health, reinforces sense of identity and group cohesiveness, contributes to present day practices, fosters First Nation acceptance and participations, and represents generations of knowledge and experience. Traditional knowledge that also used to protect of plants, animals, insects, microbial life, and agriculture systems, ensure the survival and the prosperity of First Nation peoples. Importance of traditional knowledge. The transmission of traditional knowledge across generations is fundamental to protecting and promoting indigenous peoples, cultures, and identities, as well as the sustainability of livelihoods, resilience of human-made and natural disasters, and sustaining culturally appropriate economic development. Indigenous knowledge is the basis of local level decision making in food security, human and animal health education, NRM, and other vital economic and social activities. Importance of traditional knowledge. 25% of modern medicines are made from plants first used traditionally. Medical plants research, information about agriculture and other traditionally medicinal plants. And then importance of traditional knowledge. In the emerging global knowledge economy, a country's ability to build and mobilize knowledge capital is equally essential for sustainable development. The basic component of country's knowledge system, it is indigenous knowledge. It encompasses the skills, experience, and insights of people applied to maintain or improve their livelihood. The importance of indigenous knowledge system. The indigenous knowledge is an integral part of the development process of local communities. The value and the importance, biodiversity, food security, environmental management, sustainable development, primarily healthcare, cultural identity, cultural diversity, and socio-economic livelihoods. Difference between traditional knowledge and the scientific system. So mostly traditional knowledge used in all parts of the natural world are regarded as animate all life forms and interdependent. But scientifically, human life is generally regarded as superior with a moral right to control other life forms. Indigenous knowledge and scientific knowledge. It's a lengthy acquisition. It is a rapid acquisition. So long-term wisdom and it is a short-term predictions. So mostly many classifications are scale. The one was a mix of ecological and non-hierarchical differentiation includes everything natural and supernatural. And scientific knowledge is based on phylogenic relationship. So hylogenic relationships, hierarchical differentiation excludes the supernatural. Traditional native knowledge is a holistic, include physics and metaphysical way linked to moral code, common ground, organizing principles, and then Western sciences. Thank you.